I'm just gonna take a picture of this because this is embarrassing and I just love embarrassing myself. My tripod situation is a literal joke. Welcome back to another book video. So this video is basically about all the books that I've been reading recently. I didn't do a book video or like a book recap video for October. So this is kind of like a mixture of October and November. Even though in October I literally read like 2 books, it was pretty sad. November, however, I read a lot. I'm looking at them right now and they're so different from one another. Like I literally have like some dark romance, some like murder mystery, some like Christmas love story, books that made me cry until I couldn't like breathe. I have it all. Also, if you're not following me on Goodreads, I have a Goodreads now. I literally run to my Goodreads as soon as I finish a book and I'm like, I love this book hurt me so much, whatever it is. But follow me on Goodreads if you don't. I follow everybody back on there because I just feel like we're like a big old book club and I love it. Really quickly before we get started with this book video, I want to talk to you guys about today's sponsor, which is Book of the Month. I'm so excited about this. I've known about Book of the Month for the longest time now. They're always popping up on my Instagram. I've heard other people talk about them and the fact that they want to work with me is like, I was like in shock when I saw that. I was like, there is no way that a book company wants to work with me. We have the absolutely iconic blue box right here. Okay, so if you didn't know, Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing book service for all readers. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and to help you discover books you love. Their team vets hundreds of books each month, and they also give readers their choice from a curated selection of new and early release titles. That way it gives you way more time to spend reading and less time researching. Also, Book of the Month is risk-free, so you can skip any month at any time and you will not be charged. Plus, they have the best price for new release hardcover fiction. They don't do international shipping, so they can only ship to the US. For the whole month of December, they're actually doing a really special deal. If you use the coupon code JOLLY, you can get your first book for only $5. Only in the month of December, only $5, coupon code JOLLY. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys all the books that I received this month. This one is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. And then we have A History of Wild Places by Shia Earnshaw. And then we have Olga Dies Dreaming by Xochitl Gonzalez. This is so pretty. This one is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. This book has been on my TBR for the longest time now. It's Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. And lastly, I have The Anthropocene, which is reviewed by John Green. Thank you so much for Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. And let's get started with my recommendations. Okay, so we're gonna start off with Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This book is so like beat up and just like literally there's like a little stain on there. I remember taking this book absolutely everywhere with me. I literally took it to the swap meet because I was like, there's no way I'm leaving this at home. If I get bored, I'd pull it out and start reading. There's another book after this one called Twisted Games, which is actually the book that I'm reading right now. I started it today. Okay, so this book is about Alex and Ava, and this is actually I think the first book that I read the trope of like brother's best friend. So Ava and her brother are super close. He always watches over her. He's always making sure that she's okay. And Ava's brother has a best friend, which is Alex. They're very close friends. Basically, Ava's brother is going to leave town and he asks Alex like, hey, can you look over her, like just make sure she's okay, blah blah blah. Obviously his best friend's asking him for the favor, so he can't say no. So he does the most logical thing and moves in next door to her to watch over her. So she's on this like, I don't need a bodyguard, I don't know why you have to take care of me, like super annoyed about it. She's doing the best to just push all of his buttons and try to see like how far she can take things. What he did to fight for her, I was like, whoa, standards are a little too high right now. 4 stars out of 5. Okay, so this one is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This one was so good. I also get a 4 stars out of 5. This is also Grumpy Sunshine trope. It's also like workplace lover vibes. This is about Rowan and Zara. Rowan has 2 other brothers and they are on a mission to take over his dad's spot as CEO of like the whole company that they run. So basically Rowan is given the task to go and work as director at one of the amusement parks and try to make it better than it already is. Zara's already a worker there, so basically he becomes her boss. Zara is one of those characters where she has a lot of opinions and she's not scared to voice them, and Rowan is used to everybody being super scared of him and being super timid around him, and she's like, no, that's not gonna happen. There's just like undeniable attraction between them, but obviously he's there to do this task that his brothers are telling him that he has to do, and she's finally being able to do her dream job. So yeah, I just thought this book was genuinely so good. So next I'm gonna talk about, if I could revolve an entire video just about these books, I would. After I finished the last one, I was like, what do I do now? Like, what do I read? I researched so many times. I literally went on TikTok, I went on Google, I went on Goodreads. I was like, what are books similar to this? And the answer that I got was nothing. No book is similar to this. No book equals this. Like Daniel Laurie, I don't know what crack you put into these books, but oh my god, I'm having withdrawals. Okay, they're backwards. It's the Maid series by Daniel Laurie, and I know there's a 4th book being made, and if I have to stand in line for hours at like a Target or Barnes & Noble or anywhere where I can get this book, I will. For that 4th book, I will do it. This is the first one, The Sweetest Oblivion. All of these books are very much like dark romance. They're a mafia love story, and that's something you have to know. Like, I knew it was gonna be like a mafia love story, and then I started reading it, and the guy started like killing everybody, and I was like, oh, okay. All of these are 5 stars in case you were wondering. But this book is about Nico and Elena. Nico is like the Don. I was like, what the fuck is a Don? Like, I don't know what a Don. He's like the boss of like the Italian mafia. They're in New York City, and she is the daughter of another Don. Nico, this is where it gets a little confusing. Stay with me here. Nico is set to marry Elena's sister. She thinks he's super rude, super arrogant, super like ugh. And since he's gonna marry her sister, she has this like I hate you type of vibe towards him. He brings out a side in her that not a lot of people do, or actually no one does, because she's supposed to be this like super sweet girl. Like, her dad is the Don. Like, she's supposed to just, you know, keep it together all the time, and she does. But it's when she's near Nico that like that entire facade just falls, and she's her like regular sassy self. This book is amazing. It's literally so good. He's so protective over her, and he does the craziest possible shit you can think of. Anybody looks at her the wrong way, you're gonna die. Book 2 is the Maddest Obsession. Everybody has their own favorite book in the series. This is my favorite. Everybody has their own favorite guy in the series. Christian Alistair is my absolute favorite. This book is about Christian and Gianna. Christian and Gianna are completely different to the first couple. They are even crazier. They are even more outgoing. They are just everything to me. So basically, Christian is a dirty fed. He works for the FBI. He's like an FBI cop, but he's a dirty one because he actually works with like the mafia. So he's like in the FBI, but he works with the mafia people, you know what I mean? So he's a dirty fed. Gianna's basically been in the mafia, like in the mafia family her entire life. Like, her dad is in the mafia, and now she's under the care of Nico. She's probably like the best like girl character I've ever read about. She's hilarious. She's literally so funny. I was reading this book, and like her responses, I was like, damn. She's incredibly independent. She's incredibly outgoing. She is just like, I'm not gonna take your shit. I don't care if you're a Don. So Christian is like super cold. He can seem like unapproachable. He has like a plan for absolutely everything. He always plans everything out, and the only person that is able to like totally mess that up and bring the chaos from her life into his is Gianna. This book takes you through like 7 or 8 years of their life, so you get to see how much they try to like stay away from one another, and it's totally like enemies to lovers. Like, they detest each other. He's absolutely obsessed with her, but she is everything that he doesn't want in his life, which is like chaos and fun. Like, he doesn't want that in his life, but it's also impossible for him not to protect her and not be there for her. And this book is so good, like so fucking good. It's hard to say like, oh, this is my favorite out of the series, because the whole series is so good, but this is my favorite out of the series. Okay, the last book that I read from the Maid series is The Darkest Temptation. It's not the last book of the series though. As I mentioned, there is a 4th one coming soon. Daniel Laurie, like, type away girl, because I'm dying over here. So this one was a little different than the first 2, The Sweetest Oblivion and The Maddest Obsession, because the first 2 are all about like the Italian mafia. So this one is all about the Russian mafia, and it takes place in Moscow, Russia the entire time. Okay, so the main guy is Rowan, and he is Christian Alistair's brother. He is like the Don of the Russian mafia. He's the boss of everything, boss of everyone. And Mila is also kind of a part of the mafia, except she doesn't know it. Her dad is a big part of the Russian mafia. However, she's lived her entire life in Miami. So Mila basically runs away from her house. She runs away from her bodyguard. Her dad has so many secrets that she's very curious about. So she literally flies to Moscow. And as soon as she gets there, it is not the most pleasant of experiences for her. She basically figures out very quickly that her dad is in the mafia. She gets kidnapped, and I want you to guess who she gets kidnapped by. Surprise, it's Rowan. Rowan kidnaps her. Rowan is basically at war with like Mila's dad. So Rowan kidnaps her, trying to get at her dad, and it's very messy. It's very messy. She is basically trapped in his house, in the guest room, not in like some dungeon ass shit. She's literally in the guest room. He is just like the absolute devil in a man. Like, he knows no mercy for anybody, and she is just like a whole ass ball of sunshine. He's obviously in control because, hello, he kidnapped her, but she in a weird way has so much control over him. It's actually crazy. But like, when I was reading this series, my feminist side went out the fucking window. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is so degrading. Like, what is happening? But yeah, so good. 100 million out of 5 for this series. It's so amazing. There's another book that I finished recently. This is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This book took me a month to finish. Not a week, not 2 weeks. 3 weeks enough would have been embarrassing, but it took me a whole month. This book is lengthy. I did read pretty much all of the other books in between this one. So this book is a murder mystery type of book. It's basically about a group of kids that are in a very prestigious, very elite type of college in New England. This book is from the point of view of Richard, which is one of the kids in the group, and you kind of get to see his life before he joined the college. He's one of those kids that just never felt like he was in the right place. He just felt like he was in the wrong family, lived in the wrong town. Everything just felt really wrong to him. Not to give too much away because it is like a murder mystery story, but basically this group of kids that Richard finds himself joining in on, their way of living, their way of thinking, their way of like acting, everything is incredibly bizarre. It's incredibly different than anybody else. I honestly felt like I was reading such a classic book, and it's honestly really beautiful. It is like a work of art in a book. I give this a 4 stars out of 5. Okay, another book that I actually read this month is this one right here, November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I actually read this on November 9th, and I've already recommended that one and talked about it in like 2 of my videos before, so I'm not going to go into it. I just thought it'd be really cheesy and really corny if I actually read it on November 9th and then actually did it, and no regrets, because it's actually like such an amazing book. These are the 2 books that I'm going to talk about last, but I forgot that I actually read this one too. It's Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This book is literally like a warm and fuzzy hug from like Santa Claus himself. If you're a Grinch, pick up this book, and you might not be a Grinch when you finish it. This book takes place 2 weeks before Christmas. It's about Aiden and Stella. Stella is basically looking for a second chance. She was just released from prison. She was in prison for 4 years. She's now 25 years old, and it's 2 weeks before Christmas when she meets Aiden in front of a store window in New York City. She doesn't know this then, but Aiden is actually the owner and general manager of the entire store. They meet outside of the store, and he's basically asking her like, oh, like, what do you think of this like store window, like blah blah blah, whatever. And she basically shares her very specific and very honest opinion on this store window, and she's like brutal about it. She's like, it sucks, whatever, it needs this, it needs that, it needs that. He absolutely loves her ideas, and he's like, you know what, you should apply for the job to be, you know, a store window decorator for Vivint. Aiden is one very specific character. He is basically Buddy the Elf. I like to call myself Buddy the Elf, but Aiden in this book is literally Buddy the Elf. He likes to see the good in absolutely everything. It's just basically like a really good, like, heartwarming book about second chances, and like she's looking for a second chance and he's willing to give it to her. It's a little corny at times, but honestly, with a Christmas book, what do you expect? If you're looking for like just a warm fuzzy hug from Santa Claus, read this book. So I have decided that Taylor Jenkins Reid can only write binge-worthy books. Like, these books are so amazing, they're impossible to put down, and I'm gonna start off with this one right here. If you saw my books about soulmates video, you know I've talked about this one before, Daisy Jones and the Six. This book is really interesting because the entire book is from like an interview point of view, so you get to see how like Daisy and the band, how they give their sides of the story. She struggles with a lot, but at the same time she has this undeniable talent, which is her voice, and she's also incredibly beautiful. The Six is a band, they're already very well established, but then they join together and make Daisy Jones and the Six, and throughout the book you get to hear what happens when Daisy joins the band, what happens when she's in the band, and what happens when eventually they break up. There's also a love story in this book that is one of the most heartbreaking yet beautiful love stories I've ever read about, and I mean, only Taylor Jenkins Reid can do that, but this book is so amazing. It's so good. I finished this in one night, ended up bawling my eyes out, and if you honestly enjoy just a good overall amazing book that will leave you questioning everything, this book is it. Okay, this last book that I'm going to talk about is one of these books that it's like this very incredibly annoying feeling where words cannot describe this book. You guys send me pictures of you buying Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, of you guys buying It Ends With Us, those books that I like rave about and tell you like you need to read this book. This is one of them. Like, I wish I could just give you my copy and just make like, here, like take it and read it. I wish I could do that, but this is the book that if you are wanting to get into reading, if you want to like feel so many emotions, it's like not even possible to understand. There is only one word to describe this book, only one, and that is pain. Now let me tell you why it's so amazing. Okay, so this story is about Emma Blair. She basically marries her high school sweetheart. His name is Jesse. They were literally like dating for 9 years until he proposed, and they both were each other's like motivation to get out of their hometown, to experience more, to travel more, to do more with life than what their small hometown made possible for them. They have their wedding. They both say how their wedding is literally the happiest day of their life. So basically Jesse, his job is to work on nature documentaries, so he gets to travel basically all over the world. And to make this even more heartbreaking enough, on their 1 year anniversary he decides to take this job, and they're basically going over the Pacific Ocean when the helicopter that he's on goes down, goes missing. Word gets back to Emma. She's literally like, the way that it's described, her feeling and what she does to when she finds out the news and when she's going through like the grieving process, it's it's heartbreaking. Everybody's like, obviously he's like presumed dead. I think I was like 50 pages into this book and I was already crying. Like there is not one part in this book that I did not cry. A lot of the books that I read, it's towards the end where I'm like, oh, it's so sad, you're crying. This book was the whole book, the whole experience of it all. She's sad for a lot of years. She's trying her best to like put her life back together. She moves back home to where she's from. I think it's like in New England, and she moves back home, which is one of the things she thought she would never do. She basically gives herself the opportunity to fall in love again, and Sam is there. And just imagine this, she gets a call 3 years later from Jesse. Hey, it's Jesse. I've been alive all of these years. I'm coming home. So she not only has a fiance that she's in love with, but she has a husband that she's been in love with since she was like 14. This entire story is absolutely insane. And the moment you start reading it, you know that there's going to be a decision that she has to make between Sam and Jesse, and like the life that she had with Jesse and the life that she now has with Sam. And honestly, if I think about this book for like too long, I could cry again. Please do yourself the favor, do me the favor of reading this book and just letting me know if you liked it, if you enjoyed it, if you like wanted to cry for 4 business days after reading it, just like me. If you guys read this book, if you buy this book, tag me on Instagram. I'm so excited for you guys to get your hands on this book. It's currently dark now. I have like 2 lights in front of me, trying to make the most of it out here. I could have had a mental breakdown when the sun went down, but I didn't. I just turned on a couple lights and said, here we go, we're gonna continue doing this. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.